Zoom, see if it should. Yeah.
Good morning and welcome to the Salton Sea Authority meeting Board of Directors for Thursday, May 25th. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Director Cardenas.
Good morning. If you can please join us in saluting our country. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Liberty and justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Okay, we'll now go ahead and establish a quorum by doing roll call.
Director Conrad,
Here.
Director Kelly. Vice President Santillanes. Director Cortez. Secretary Estrada. Director Aguilar,
Here.
Treasurer Cardenas,
Present.
Director Dockstader. Director Perez. Director Gutierrez. We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
I see Director Dockstader on the line, but I did not hear her.
I'm here. Sorry about that.
Good.
All right,
Thank
we're
you.
good. We have two-way communication.
Gutierrez is online as well.
Excellent. Thank you. So we have a quorum. We will now go into the public comment portion of our meeting. This public comment time is reserved for comments on any non-action agenda item and for matters not on the agenda. California law prohibits members of the board taking action on matters not on the agenda. Members of the public may address the board regarding any matter within the authority's jurisdiction and are invited to speak to any specific action item in the agenda at the time that that item is called. All non-action agenda items should be addressed during this public comment period. Remarks shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. When you speak, please state your name for the record before providing your comments. Written comments must be received by noon Wednesday 24th to be incorporated into the record. Bless you. Madam Clerk, did we receive any written records prior to the any requests, comments, written comments prior to the deadline?
No, we have not.
Thank you. Okay, we will go here to chambers first for public comment. Mr. Eric Reyes.
Allergies, sorry.
Eric Reyes, I'm here representing environment and social justice organization, Los Amigos de la Comunidad. We've been very active in all proceedings regarding Salton Sea, air quality, and socioeconomic justice for our communities around the Salton Sea. So I was also here, not here, but at the La Quinta, where we meet before, where you've also met when they had the prior announcement of this leaving of water behind a Lake Mead, and we still have not come up with a baseline priority of community impacts, nor the receding of the Salton Sea. You had a difference of opinion from what was stated and what you believe. I think Mr. O'Dowd stated, that the Salton Sea Authority had a difference of opinion that was not so official. The amount that the U.S. government was saying the sea would recede with the new water transfer. I call it a water transfer because anytime you do not use water for what its intended use is a transfer of its use. So whether you transfer it to urban cities, as we did with San Diego County Water Authority and Metropolitan, or you leave it behind at Lake Mead, where elevation is the transfer of use of water. And the end result for our community is it does not come and create jobs to Imperial County, Field, and Coachella. And it does not come into the Salton Sea, which makes the receding sea recede that much faster. And I have not seen anything on behalf of the community as to what those calculations truly are, who we can believe, and what we can fight for our community as we face in more receding of the sea, more exposed playa, more particulate matter, and more respiratory and possibly cancer-causing carcinogens coming into our lungs in our community. And I'm hoping with this recent announcement, even though there's no term sheet, as the IAD director rightfully says, we have not seen what the cost is or what is going to be parceled out. How are we as the Salton Sea Authority going to address that as soon as possible? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Do we have any additional requests in the room for public comment? Seeing none,
Yes.
looks like we have a couple online.
Yes, hey, good morning.
Mr. White, go ahead.
It should be this.
Hi, thank you so much. This is Nathan White with Ages Inc. I'm just reaching out to the Salton Sea Authority. I've been involved for about 9 years now, which is a long time, and I appreciate everybody's hard work, everybody's dedication. A lot of you that are on the board are still the same board members were there when we first met, which is really exciting. There's a lot of continuity. Couple different comments I wanted to just make today is we made a proposal to California Natural Resources Agency for a South Lake demonstration project, which in total was about $16 million, but creates about 21,000 acre feet of better habitat on the southern end that kind of abuts some of the other geothermal facilities and would have a positive impact on salinity for the main body of that area for birds and other species. That was not analyzed through California Natural Resources Agency. Didn't know if there was a process or procedure that could be analyzed through Salton Sea Authority, or if that might be deferred to the Army Corps of Engineers. But that is a very low cost, high yield benefit project that is similar in cost to the North Lake with about 100x acres of habitat creation. So if somebody can forward that request or process along, if there is one, yeah, our team is Ages Inc. and we'd be greatly appreciated. My second comment would be that we're very interested in the potential of donating ocean water via water importation delivery system. And we'd be willing to donate that to the Salton Sea Authority. If there's a precedence, I believe there was a water exchange agreement with Cadiz that happened in March. So we're hopeful and optimistic if there might be a similar water donation agreement that could be done with our private developers bringing water from Mexico. Third comment is that in the news today, water is kind of being non-fairly distributed to Mexico. We think a water importation strategy can have a positive benefit for the Salton Sea, but also for Mexico. And hopefully the process of the Army Corps of Engineers will be to look at all projects that were submitted, non-import as well as water import. So if the board can have kind of some public comment on that, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, Desert Shores, we worked on for a few years. Hopefully that can move forward. We were really close to getting a permit issued, just minus a grading permit to at least build the berm. So hopefully that can move along to show the viability of water import and the economic benefits on a small scale. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Appreciate everybody's hard work.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Jasmine Phillips.
Ms. Phillips, go ahead.
Yeah, it's fun.
Thank you. My name is Jasmine Phillips. We had an announcement on Monday regarding an agreement between California, Arizona, and Nevada with support from Upper Basin states on a consensus alternative agreement for Colorado River management in the next 3.5 years. This provides significant certainty on the level of impact to the Salton Sea in the short term, an impact that will be significant and damaging, but we hope in some way manageable. We should not fool ourselves that these cutbacks will be over in 2027. We know that the new Colorado River management plans will be in negotiation this year. The outcome is unknown, but we do know that the Colorado River has been over allocated since the 1922 compact 101 years ago. And we are seeing that impact of that right now. Whatever long-term management plans are settled on, it is likely to expect that Colorado River inflows to the Salton Sea region will be substantially less than they have been up to now.
Ms. Phillips, are you still on? Okay, so it sounds like she completed. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody else for public comment?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to agenda item number 3, board member comments. This time set aside for members of the board to share their thoughts and concerns regarding the general authority matters not on the agenda. With that, I will start off to my right, Director Cardenas.
Yeah, good morning. Do appreciate those that have chimed in, and I know there's been quite a bit of discussion regarding the agreement and discussion and the headlines that have come out in the last 24 to 72 hours. Just want to caution that we are still in negotiations and discussions. We do not have a signed term sheet. And we're also still kind of assessing the what ifs scenario. So I do ask that the public, I would share that this is going to be a very transparent process. So once we do have a term sheet and we can agendize that there will be quite a bit of discussion in regards to impacts, Salton Sea, et cetera. IID is committed to protecting our only source of water, but not at the expense of public health. So I would ask that we do look at some of those headlines, whether it's a 3 flags letter or a 7 flag letter or a 3 state letter, that those terms are subject to our board approving it accordingly. So those discussions will be forthcoming, and we look forward to having that discussion in a very transparent situation and encouraging that the stakeholders are being heard. Those are my comments this morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Cardenas. For the record, Director Kelly just joined us. Director Aguilar?
No comments.
Thank you, sir. Director Kelly, any board member comments?
No, sorry for my tardiness. I was at the LAFCO meeting. So now I'm here.
Thank you, sir. We will now go to board members participating remotely. Director Dockstader, aloha.
Aloha. No, I don't have any other comments. I think Director Cardenas summed it all up. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. Director Gutierrez. Yep, seem to not have comment. Any director that may have joined online that I did not catch, this is your time to chime in. Going once, going twice. We go on to agenda item number 4, special presentations and recognitions. This is item A. Mr. O'Dell.
Mr. President, members of the board, we were asked by a community group to invite the Riverside County to present to this board and the community at large the work that they're doing on the enhanced infrastructure finance district. I thought it might be informative, both as to what they're doing and what other opportunities might be available in this space. And that's also part of the overall conversation about how these revenue sources are going to be accessed on a going forward basis to address the many challenges around the sea. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Scott Bruckner, who's the Principal Management Analyst for Riverside County. Mr. Bruckner.
Morning, members of the chair and members of the public. My name is Scott Bruckner. I'm with the county's Riverside County Executive Office. I thank you for inviting me to speak today on the county's initiative to bring an enhanced infrastructure finance district to the Eastern Coachella Valley. So I will share my screen here, presentation.
Can we increase the volume? Thank you.
Can everybody see that?
Yep, your screen is
And
up.
Mr. Bruckner, your volume is a little low, so anything you can do to help us on your end would be appreciated.
Let me see.
And we do see your presentation.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'll try to speak a little louder here. I think my volume's all the way up. So let me know if there's any other issues. But some of the topics I want to discuss today is talk a little bit about ECV Prospera. I'll go over some background on what an EIFD is, the structure and legal format of an EIFD, eligible projects under an EIFD, and then also talk about how EIFDs fund those project infrastructure improvements. Talk about some of the benefits. I'll go over the details of the Riverside County's proposal for the EIFD in Eastern Coachella Valley. I'll also talk a bit about the draft infrastructure finance plan for the Eastern Coachella Valley EIFD, which is currently out for public review and comment. And then I'll talk about the robust public participation and stakeholder process that is part of EIFD formation and also ongoing administration. So first, what is ECV Prospera? It is the county's initiative to improve infrastructure and enhance the quality of life in the Eastern Coachella Valley. The proposed EIFD is a component of ECV Prospera, and it's a tool for bringing several key categories of infrastructure to the area. These are categories of infrastructure that we have identified by aggregating various needs assessments that have been conducted in the past by the county, also from other agencies. And those categories of infrastructure are wastewater and water infrastructure, utilities and telecommunication, transportation infrastructure, Salton Sea improvements, affordable housing, and community facilities. Some recent examples of ECV Prospera projects, and this is just a short list here. They include, we've partnered with CVWD and provided some federal ARPA funding for a couple of projects, the Ion Exchange Water Treatment Plant, also the Mecca Lift Station capacity upgrade. Our North Shore Fire Station is projected to be complete before the end of 2023. There's also the Mecca Library renovation project, and recently the Oasis Mobile Home Park Housing Opportunities Grant Program, just to name a few. So some backgrounds on EIFDs in general. In 2014, the state's legislature signed the first EIFD law into existence. Since then, they've made a couple of key tweaks that have really made EIFDs much more tenable, and we're starting to see them pop up throughout the state from various local governments. In fact, Riverside County currently has two formally established EIFDs, one in our Temecula wine country and also one along Highway 74 between the cities of Lake Elsinore and cities of Paris. The state's goal when passing the EIFD law was to create a vehicle for development to occur through public infrastructure where market forces alone might otherwise struggle to do so. If you wanted to do any further research into EIFD law, those are the sections of government code there for your view and pleasure. The term of an EIFD is 45 years from the date of establishment. So it is a long-term commitment and one that the county takes very seriously. EIFDs are governed by a public finance authority, which is appointed by the electorate of the agency that is donating or allocating its tax increment towards the EIFD. And the Public Finance Authority that oversees all financing and activities of the EIFD. They do so through development and implementation of an infrastructure finance plan that is really the investment plan of the EIFD and their Bible, so to speak, going forward. Plenty of public review and input opportunities are a requirement for EIFD formation and ongoing administration. We do have a webpage. We've mailed out various notifications to property owners in the area. We've held a series of informational meetings a couple of weeks ago. And then we have our public hearings of the Public Finance Authority upcoming. I'll speak more to that in a minute. But 3 fully noticed public hearings are required during formation of an EIFD. And then ongoing for the 45-year term of the EIFD, the PFA must meet at least once. But as projects come forward, we expect that they'll meet more often than that. Eligible projects for an EIFD is really any public improvements with a useful life of 15 years or more that provide community benefit and lead to growth. And this is just a short list here, but it includes water and wastewater infrastructure, transportation, roads, bridges, parks, trails and open space, civic infrastructure, and affordable housing. So one of the primary concerns that we've heard from the community when we discuss the proposal, and when we discussed the proposal in the other communities of our other 2 EIFDs as well, is there's a concern of whether or not people's property taxes will be increased. And because EIFDs do utilize property taxes as their funding source, I think it's prudent of us to kind of go back to the basics and describe how and detail how property taxation occurs within the state, including in Riverside County. So every year, our county's assessor clerk recorder assesses the value of a given property, of all properties in the county. That property's tax rate cannot exceed 1% of the property's assessed value. That is in the state's constitution. So that 1% can be thought of as a pie, and all of the taxing entities that provide services to the area split that pie on a predetermined, they have their own predetermined slice of that pie. No matter how much a property's assessed value increases, the property owner's taxes cannot be increased by more than 2% annually for the duration of property ownership. That is also in the state's constitution. Those 2 components of the California Constitution are a result of Prop 13, which was voted into play in 1979 by the state's voters. And then in 1996, Prop 218 was voted in, and that also tweaked our state's constitution. And basically what it says is that no additional property-related fees or charges can be levied on a property without 2/3 voter approval. So with that in mind, I'll discuss a little bit of detail of how EIFDs are funded. So EIFDs utilize a funding mechanism called tax increment financing. And what it is basically a portion of future property taxes. Important point to make here is that for the Eastern Coachella Valley EIFD and for any EIFD, we can only use the participating agency's portion of increment from ad valorem property tax. We cannot use any property tax increment for any other taxing entity, and particularly schools. We cannot use any tax increment from schools. So we're not taking from education. And these tax increment revenues are the same ad valorem property taxes that are already being paid for by property owners. So again, no additional property taxes paid by property owners, and I'll go into that a bit more on the next slide. So this graph here basically discusses or details how tax increment financing works. So the x-axis or horizontal axis there represents time, and the y-axis or the vertical axis is total assessed value. So that blue area, when an EIFD is formed, we basically that year we would freeze the assessed value in the area, and then any growth in assessed value, the 1% increment that occurs now, the county's portion of that 1% now becomes available for the EIFD to fund improvements. And what we try to do is at the base of that yellow triangle, we try to fortify the area with some funding and projects that will help assist the area with growth. So those projects that I mentioned earlier, the ARPA funded projects, and then all of the projects really of the other taxing entities as well, CVWD, Desert Recreation District, they all serve to increase the assessed value in the area, thereby allowing for more growth for the EIFD to allocate more funds. And then the way they really become the most effective is as the EIFD provides more funds for infrastructure in the area, that further increases assessed values, thereby allowing for more funds to be available But the key here is going back to the previous slide, is that due to Prop 13 and those components of the state constitution, property taxes can only be raised by a max of 2% each year. And if you own property in the state of California, you know that probably for the last year over year, probably at least the last 5 years, your property taxes have been raised that much. And that's independent of any EIFD. So that's really, in a nutshell, explains how, from a high level, how tax increment financing works. It does not result in any new taxation for property owners. So the benefits of an EIFD is that it provides a dedicated funding source to reinvest in the community. So typically how any local government financing works is we take all revenues generated countywide or citywide, put it into a big pot, and then every year around budget time, we decide how to allocate those funds for countywide services. And so in the Eastern Coachella Valley, those revenues are also going into that big pot to provide services countywide. This is a way, EIFDs are a way to earmark funds generated within the area to be spent on improvements in that area. Another benefit is that it allows us to attract and bundle additional funds. So other government revenues like federal and state grants are expected to be combined with this to really combine to provide for the maximum effect. A lot of federal and state grants require a local match, 5 or 10%. The EIFD allows for us to have these funds ready to let us be more competitive for those grants. And then the return on investment as well. Once we provide for the infrastructure that can assist with that private sector investment to come in after the fact and provide that affordable housing, the other private sector investment that can result from that. So some of the details about the county's proposal. The proposed boundary, hopefully you can see that there. It is all of the pink area within that boundary. It's just under 9,000 parcels, including the unincorporated communities of Vista Santa Rosa, Thermal, Oasis, Mecca, and North Shore. None of that boundary is within the city boundary of Coachella or La Quinta. So it's all the unincorporated area down to the Imperial County line. Here is our proposed formation process and timeline. So in January 24 of this year, our county's Board of Supervisors adopted the resolution of intent to form the CIFD and also formally formed the Public Finance Authority to oversee formation of the CIFD. Since then, we've been conducting extensive area outreach. The draft infrastructure finance plan was mailed to all property owners within the district area, and it's currently posted on our website. That was late April. And what ensues after that is all really there to gain public comment and input on that draft infrastructure finance plan. So we held a series of informational meetings in Mecca a couple of weeks ago. Our first 2 public hearings of the Public Finance Authority are upcoming June 15th at CVWD's boardroom in Coachella. Also July 18th and September 12th. Those are all public hearings of the Public Finance Authority. If less than 25% of combined landowners and residents 18 years or older do not file a protest by that second or third meeting, the Finance Authority may adopt the infrastructure finance plan at the third meeting. And that allows for formation that we would then put together everything into a package, submit it up to the state, and with their approval, the district would be formally established. So spoke a bit about the draft infrastructure finance plan. That is really, all of the information there really contains our fiscal impact analysis for the EIFD, our revenue forecasts, the proposed infrastructure categories that we're proposing for the EIFD to fund. This table that you see here is excerpted from the draft infrastructure finance plan. So as you can see, we forecast that approximately $250 million would be gathered from the EIFD over its lifetime. And so those key category infrastructures, those are the percentages that we're proposing to allocate from that funding towards that particular improvement. So 25% to water and wastewater infrastructure, 20% to transportation, 20% to utilities and telecommunication, 15% to the Salton Sea and housing as well, and also 5% to community facilities. I think an important point to make here is that $250 million is a big number, but it couldn't possibly bring all of the area infrastructure that is needed for the area, particularly when we speak to the Salton Sea. So it's really going to be important that we aggregate all available funding to really maximize the effect of this EIFD. It can really be thought of as a tool in the toolbox. So for public participation, as I mentioned, the draft infrastructure finance plan has been mailed to all property owners. It's posted on our website. The website is there. If you'd like more information, it also contains all meeting information, all of the formation documents. Our upcoming Public Finance Authority meetings are again June 15th, July 18th, and September 12th. All pertinent meeting information can be found on the website and is mailed out to proposed district property owners as well. And that concludes my presentation. I'm going to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you, Mr. Bruckner. Do we have any questions from members of this committee? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the presentation. I just had a couple questions. So the Finance Authority has already been established. Is that the Board of Supervisors? Who is the authority?
So that's set forth in law. It's where there's a requirement to have 3 members of the electorate of the participating agency and 2 public members. So for this EIFD, correct, the authority has been established. It is our 3rd district board member, Chuck Washington, 4th district member, Supervisor Perez, 5th district board member, Ixtian Gutierrez, and then 2 members of the public as well.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And then my second question is on table 2, the chart that you referenced a minute ago, it lists the infrastructure cost, but it also references another table, table 5, which includes it says projected financing capacity. What is that?
So I'm trying to share my screen here to bring that up. 1 second. Can you see that? I'm sorry, which table were you referring to? This one?
Well, I'm looking at table 2, which is labeled EIFD infrastructure costs. But on the
Yes.
notes section, note 1, it references a table 5, which is projected financing capacity. And I just don't understand what that is.
So
And you're not sharing anything other than what looks like dental x-rays or something.
sorry about that. Let me. So as I try to bring that up, I will speak to that. So again, that table is excerpted from the draft infrastructure finance plan. So table 5 is a table of the plan, and I believe that particular table speaks to, because the EIFD really has 2 options. There's a pay-as-you-go option, which is just funding projects as funding comes in, and then there's also the option to issue bonds. I believe table 5 lists both revenue totals, assuming both options. But at the end of the day, the option to do either, whether it's bond issuance or pay as you go, that's a decision for the Public Finance Authority to make.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions from chambers? None? Okay, we'll go ahead to those directors online. I should also mention that during the meeting precedent, Tortes did join us as well. And so we'll do kind of a round robin. Director Dockstetter, any questions?
Nope. Thank you.
Thank you. President Tortes, any questions?
No question, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Director Gutierrez,
No questions.
thank you. Did I miss anyone that has joined and I did not know?
Not at this time.
Okay. I have no questions myself at this time, so we'll go ahead to public comment on this item. We'll start here with Chambers. If you want to make public comment and you're online, please use our raise hand feature. Mr. Eric Reyes.
Yeah, Eric Grace. So I saw this backup material. I was really intrigued by it. A couple of things really jumped out at me. One, the public participation to get buy-in from the community as to what they're gonna do. The more upfront we are, the better we can move around our resources. And two, what I really particularly liked was the boundaries that they said of where that investment is gonna go. And obviously, if you look at them, those are underserved, disadvantaged communities. And so you're gonna create a financing term that they would not be able to do by themselves through their property tax. In fact, you're gonna get an additional revenue stream, which is gonna enhance their opportunity to then bring in private economic funds as well. And I think that's a very good mechanism. And then the makeup of the board, also having residents along with elected, is always a great mix for this type of project. Elected officials are one thing, and then this type of special districts where you have community residents representing who are being impacted by the and have a say in what's going on is a very positive model. And it's great how they broke down where the money, their projected funds are going. And the Salton Sea is going to have a large proportion of it, also 15%. I think that's a great model for us. Obviously, Salton Sea Authority, we know we need $3-4 billion, right, to do what's right, to enhance, mitigate, and create a future for that area. Lithium alone will not do it. It's going to create impact, so we have to be able to enhance that community and bring in more private investment and amenities and make it a quality of life issue as well. And I highly recommend this model. I'm kind of surprised it's been around since 2014. I didn't know myself. So I did not know that, as I said. So that's great to get a fun fact like that we can use for future talks, pláticas that I do with you and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Just as an informational item, Imperial County has engaged in a similar process in conjunction to SCAG, and so that'd be a good presentation for the next regular meeting. With that, no additional public comment in the room. We will go to online. We have one, Mr. Nathan White.
Yeah, thank you again. This is Nathan with Aegis. Just wanted to comment, I really do support the district type of financing. And I think holistically people support, additional taxation if they know what it's going towards. And that goes to the whole point of what we're trying to do with, restoration. To the previous gentleman's comment, in a proposal that we put forward, it's not a $4 billion project. It's really a $1 billion project. And if you want to add on, bringing all the water quality back to a safe and a level that everybody can enjoy without selenium in it, it's like an extra 250 million. So, 1.25 billion could restore the entire region and, a lake that's almost the same size in Mexico. But to the financing district is, as long as people see that there's a plan in place and there's projects in place, whether they're community benefit projects around the shoreline of the sea. We submitted another project to California Natural Resources Agency for that, onshore dust mitigation and economic enhancement, and they never even responded. So I'm happy to send our, proposal along on that as well. But if people see a vision of restoration and they see a vision of their taxes going to community benefits, and they actually see a timeline and they actually see stuff on the ground, then, something like that, everybody's going to get behind. So I think just that might be the vision for Salton Sea Authority to take forward, is that this SSA is the one that has that vision, that timeline, that construction plan. So thanks so much. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Mr. White. Seeing no additional raised hands online. Thank you very much, Mr. Bruckner. Very informative. Look forward to having additional updates down the road as the projects move forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
five, consent calendar. Any comments from members of this body?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion if there's no comments from this board or the public.
I would second that.
Well, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Oh, sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead.
No, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the consent calendar items 1 through 4.
Yeah, I would second.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. President, I'd like to note briefly that item number 4 is just an accounting cleanup of some fish funds that were created in 2006 and haven't been touched in 2000 in over a decade, and we're just reclassing that to general.
Thanks, sir. There seeming to be no additional questions or comments on this item. We have a motion by Director Cardenas, a second by Director Aguilar. Madam Clerk, will you please call for the vote?
President Plancarte,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Vice President Santillanes, Director Tortes,
Yes.
Secretary Estrada, Director Bianca, Treasurer Cardenas,
Yes.
Director Perez. Motion has passed.
Oh, no.
I didn't hear mine.
Oh, because I made the second.
Oh, okay. Director Gutierrez?
Director Gutierrez,
Yeah, I'm here.
thank you.
Thanks.
And-
Yes.
And Doc Stetter as well, but I say yes also.
Thank you. Motion is passed.
All right, motion passes. Items, next coming items, some due to some directors having to leave, I'm going to shuffle things around a little bit. So we will start with item number 5C, SB 583, Padilla Governance Structure and Operating and Maintenance. Mr. Odell.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, you recall at our last meeting, we discussed this issue in length. I'm largely just providing an update today. I think that we did ask the senator to and his staff to delay this process. I think that this is we acknowledge the issues that are being raised are longstanding issues that the authority has been wrestling with, and working together with the stakeholders in the community. We're confident that viable, effective, responsible solutions can be developed, but what is being proposed and what is being rushed through in this instance, we believe can be injurious to a number of processes that are currently taking place. One, we just talked about, we don't know what the implications to the enhanced infrastructure finance district will be as a result of this new governing body being created in the area. How it will affect the feasibility study is unknown. How it will even affect communicating issues with respect to the conservation and the impact associated with conservation related to the conversations on the Colorado River. So we have been helping to inform stakeholders throughout the region and throughout the state, and we've been finding more and more people understanding our concerns. Again, we don't disregard in any sense the concerns expressed by the senator. In fact, we applaud his sincere effort to want to help the region and address the longstanding challenges. We just believe that the time frame in which this is moving forward is not helpful, and that it can be better handled in a more constructive, more public, more inclusive manner. And we continue to oppose it, and we look for partners to join us in that position.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Go ahead.
I think Mr. O'Dowd, you made a perfect argument for it to be considered as a watch position. All the points and merits that you mentioned allows for possible landing strips to have that discussion, especially as it heads to the Senate. I would caution that we continue to have open dialogue with the senator and begin addressing this critical issue. I'm still convinced that this is not a situation where they're trying to supplant the efforts of the SSA, but maybe supplement. But again, do want to caution the Salton Sea Authority in regards to taking positions and then walking them back potentially And that's why, a watch position allows for us to do that. So, I do have to make a statement that this conflicts with our state legislative position as a watch. So I will be abstaining from this vote, sir.
Yeah, Mr. President, I don't know that we're looking for a vote today.
No, we have it listed as an informational item.
Yeah, I just wanted to update the board on where we stand, and I appreciate the concerns of everyone. This is not a posture that I would conventionally advocate. This is a matter that should be easily addressed, but it does seem that there is a certain recalcitrance to finding that landing strip, that we welcome that dialogue. We welcome that conversation. The problem is this is a highly complex issue, and it's going to take a lot of time to get it right. Putting a piece of legislation on the book has consequences. It took a long time to get AB 71 done, which is preemptive over the work that's being proposed under this particular legislation. Everything that is being advanced by the senator can be addressed, but having to deal with that against the framework of everything else that's going on presents challenges. And if we do nothing, we run the consequence of this becoming law in its current form, which we believe will continue to be problematic.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead, sir.
There are 2 signatures on this letter that's before us. I would ask that this be taken as an action item. I believe that the Salton Sea Authority should be taking positions through vote and memorializing their positions through their vote. Again, unless you're tethering this to action taken at the previous meeting, I'm not sure how this could be an information item.
So the letter that's presented here is substantially the same as the letter that was presented at the last board meeting. The board took the position at the last meeting that we would ask the senator to make this a 2-year bill. And if not, we would oppose the legislation. That's the position the board took at the same time. That letter has already been delivered to the senator. And again, President Director Cardenas, we want to work with the senator and we welcome the dialogue. And we're looking for that landing strip as you properly characterize it. But if we do nothing, this will become law, and it has the potential to be disruptive to a number of important things that are taking place. So I appreciate your concerns, and I take them seriously.
And just as a reminder of the conversation in last meeting, we were meeting on a Thursday, and this item was going to be potentially voted on the following Monday or Tuesday. We were going to get the letter out that day requesting that it be delayed and turn into a 2-year. And at that point, the decision was made that if the answer was not in the affirmative, we would go ahead then and go forward with this letter. And so that's how that vote came about. This is just a copy of something that was voted on.
And that's why it's on the agenda.
Information on.
If we've already taken action, we've already sent the letter, and now we're having another discussion.
It was going to be informational in nature. You're requested to discuss and state your position.
Yeah,
And that's what we're commenting on.
I stand by my comments.
Any additional comments from directors?
If I could just, please, Mr. Chairman, I have not personally met with the senator or anyone on his staff, but I have been informed that other legislators and stakeholders have met with the senator and or his team and expressed, I think, as Patrick pointed out, some sympathy to the concerns that have been expressed. So while it's been difficult to track, I remain optimistic that this will hopefully at the other end come out with some, hopefully without, as Patrick points out, injuring the work of this authority. Thank you.
If I could comment briefly, it would be my hope and sincere desire that we would be a co-sponsor on a piece of legislation that addresses all of the senators' concerns in a responsible way that takes into consideration all of the local stakeholders' concerns. And I don't think that this process is lending itself to that fulsome discussion of those concerns. It's an uncomfortable position to be opposing the senator who represents this region. It's something nobody wants to be doing right now. Certainly not me, but I think it's important because if this becomes law, then we'll have to deal with it as such.
Mr. Chair, one final comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Cardenas.
Ms. Samantha, I'm sure that you're on and representing, obviously, I want to welcome you to, again, to the Salton Sea Authority, but unfortunately, CRNA does not get a pass in this situation. So I would ask that you would consider chiming in terms of any possible positions that CRNA is taking, whether they are even in favor of us sending an opposition letter to our senator. I know you represent this board as an ex officio member. They made it very clear that this is an information item after they've already taken action. So if they want to open up that can of worms, then go for it. So I would ask Ms. Samantha to chime in, and if you can provide any context or color in terms of where the CRNA is at in regards to this letter of opposition.
Yeah, thanks so much for the question. I appreciate that. We do not have a position on this bill and are not equipped to make a comment on this time about support or opposition to the proposed bill.
Ms. Samantha, you're an ex officio member here, and this has major implications, especially because of the office of the water department. So you're saying that CRNA would not have a position on this bill or the future power that they could have in regards to the resources that you manage?
Just at this time, we do not have a position on this bill. That is a position run through the governor's office. And so right now we do not have a position and are not engaged.
You're not engaged in any of these discussions surrounding the Salton Sea Conservancy and what's before this board, ma'am?
Mr. Cardenas, just a reminder, this is not a hearing.
Mr.
It is
Chair,
not an
you're
inquiry.
not a judge. Please afford me the opportunity to
That's what you're
represent the
beginning to
ID.
sound like.
Well, that's your opinion. So can I have my time? Can I have my time?
I think your question has been answered.
Can I have my time?
You got one more question, sir?
You don't dictate how many questions I get.
Okay.
Ms. Samantha, can you just reiterate your position regarding this bill, ma'am?
At this time, we do not have a position on this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Cardenas.
President, if I could, I want to, and thank you, Assistant Secretary. We did reach out to the Secretary's office, and I did speak with the Assistant Secretary on this issue before I brought this forward.
Thank you, sir. Any additional questions from directors? Being none, we will go on to item number 5D, supplemental environmental impact statement comment letter. This will be presented by Ms. Moore. Patrick, do you need to do an introduction on this, or do we go straight to Ms. Moore?
I would just briefly like to introduce it. We were directed by this body to prepare comments to the supplemental environmental impact statement that was prepared by the Corps pursuant to some actions being proposed to be taken. Ms. Moore worked diligently researching and scribing a letter for representing the interests of this board and the people of the regions, which we were prepared to discuss today. We received notice on Monday that there was an agreement, and Director Cardenas mentioned earlier that there are letters, the 3 flags letter, the 5 flags letter. There's a press release from the Department of Interior. All of those documents are in your board packet, and I encourage you to read them. But I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Moore to briefly kind of characterize at a high level, without taking too much time, some of the comments that were included in the letter, and then I would invite President Cardenas, if you'd like, to just kind of give us a sense of where you see this process headed going forward from here.
Would you like me to start, or Ms. Lisa to start?
I don't think she's going to take but a couple minutes to.
All right.
I'll try to be quick. So I think everyone, I think the draft comments were circulated to the directors, so you've all had an opportunity to see them. Again, where we are in this process is there was a draft supplemental environmental impact statement that Reclamation put out for public comment. There's a 45-day comment period that ended on, that will end on May 30th. The board directed us to prepare comments for your consideration, really particularly to evaluate how the draft treated the Salton Sea region. And so the comments really focused on that, particularly the equal cut alternative and the lack of analysis for the impact of that on the Salton Sea region. And it in fact is not analyzed. The equal cut again was disregarding California's priority and law of the river. And so it really sort of somewhat focused on that, and also encouraged Reclamation to consider California's proposed alternative that was not included in the document, which now it sort of looks like that's where this process may be headed. And so my understanding, and you may have additional flavor to put on this, is that there will now be a reissue of the draft supplemental environmental impact statement to include the new kind of consensus proposal for the lower basin states that was previewed on Monday. That would mean if it goes out as a draft, you would have a comment period again of at least 45 days so that the public could comment on that. I guess the open question will be whether or not the defects in the original draft supplement will be cured, in terms of there were no really analysis of what the environmental impacts, air quality impacts, EJ impacts, tribal impacts were on the Salton Sea region from the alternatives that were then on the table. And so until a document like that, until a new document is published, we just won't really know that answer. The directors in the last meeting sort of said, we would like this process to slow down, particularly on that equal cut alternative. So it does seem like that has happened. But if anyone has any questions about those comments, I'm happy to answer them. But that's y'all have them, so that's what they aimed to do.
Thank you, Lisa.
Sure.
Here for me.
Go ahead, Director Cardenas.
Yeah, so just to kind of echo our comments, we are grateful, IID is working with California and with the states of Arizona and Nevada, and we're fortunate, very, very fortunate enough to stop the SEIS process. Doesn't mean that the conversation stops, the process stops, but it does afford the Salton Sea Authority to continue to provide comments and advocate for human health and habitat along the Salton Sea. So it is a victory lap in regards to this SEIS process, because it does allow us to present an alternative to options 1 or 2 that has some very serious consequences, especially when it comes to the Salton Sea. So the fact that we're back on a kind of a volunteer situation and control our own destiny, it does provide us a very safe place to continue the discussion and engage the community about the possible impacts. Furthermore, our California plan has remained unchanged. So it's not like this is a new deal or some sort of groundbreaking effort on the part of IID. Back in the fall, we did present a California plan that led to about a 250,000 acre foot water commitment to the concept, and it appears now it's being memorialized through the stoppage of the SEIS. So IID is going to continue to work on the execution of these agreements in a very transparent process, and both Dockstetter and I will be keeping the Salton Sea informed and engaged. We're not operating in a vacuum under no circumstance. So the fact that the possible preferred alternative outcome is going to rest on the California plan does present an opportunity. We still need to continue to have the discussions regarding the impacts and the possible public health situation and consequences. And I'm asking that those conversations continue. I do want to circle back to CRNA a bit, because they do play a critical role in this, and they have provided some evaluation and impacts. And I am encouraging us that we work with them to determine if those impacts are a representation of what this possible situation and any collateral damage as a result of this. Just want to reiterate that we don't have a binding agreement at this time. those discussions are ongoing. And once an agreement is, put on paper, that's going to be shared with the public. And then that's going to be subject to our board approval. So that's kind of our position. There'll be more to come, but all of this will be discussed in a very transparent manner. But I would ask CRNA to chime in if it's appropriate and maybe provide any context or color to their role and their efforts in regards to the three flag letter that was sent out. Thank you.
President.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Mr. Kelly?
I do want to acknowledge that the county of Imperial did prepare comments in regards to the environmental impact, and we know that that's been put on hold. We took it off of our agenda. We have more time to be able to craft our points of view. But I do want to commend Imperial Irrigation District. Sky hasn't fallen, but I am commending them for doing public outreach, because what is being considered and the impacts and their outreach that they've initiated is very important, because not just the district, but also the citizenry and the business impacts of what is being proposed are going to be significant, including the Salton Sea.
Thank you, Director Kelly. Any additional comments?
Yeah, just one comment, which is that I'm happy to hear that unlike what was the case in the first two alternatives, they're now considering more impact from the hydrology effect of the last season and last year, which I think will be important in the final recommendation.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Do we have any additional comments from directors online? Being none, Mr. Cardenas, are you going to start?
Yes, sir. Do encourage that we still continue to have those conversations. The Salton Sea Authority does play a very critical role. Again, I want to reiterate, it doesn't take an SEIS process to express our opinions, and that we continue to work with both state and federal agencies. We are the catalyst in terms of the Salton Sea. And again, we did, as Supervisor Kelly mentioned, we also had a letter that we prepared. That letter is not going to get mothballed. It's a letter that's going to be put in our toolbox, and we definitely want to use components from that letter to encourage that we are understanding those impacts. So I am requesting, Mr. Chair, that we continue to have that conversation, that we continue to reach out to our state and federal officials so that we can do what's in the best interest of our community from a public health and habitat perspective. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Wholeheartedly agree, and we will continue to be again. Did you have something, Mr. O'Donnell?
I just want to say, and I appreciate the opportunity as a former director of CVWD, and watching this process and knowing all the work that's taking place. What a tough situation. And the work that these guys are doing, President Cardenas, Vice President Hamby, and all the people working for the state of California. We owe them a debt of gratitude, because this is important work that they're working on. And it's complicated, and the authority has an awkward role to play, but we're doing it to the best of our ability. And I'm honored to be a part of this effort.
Well said. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to have to excuse myself for a call, and I will try to make it back.
Thank you, sir. We will now go back to agenda item 5B. We had skipped that because of the departure. Item 5B, Desert Shores, restoring habitat and improving air quality, water quality in the Salton Sea. This is a USVR grant and project update. Mr. O'Dowd.
Mr. O'Dowd, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to step out for another call too, but I shared a lot of information with you.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that that communication with a project developer that has shown interest in doing project delivery, we, in concert with Imperial County and with Salton Sea Authority, that we might be able to have that on the next or immediately after the next meeting, so that that conversation can continue as we we could actually get to a point where we are going to be starting to do something.
Yeah,
significant.
I think that, I think that, I want to acknowledge Mr. John Gay is here. He's with the Public Works Department in Imperial County, and he and I have been working closely. And we believe in the next couple of weeks, we will be in a position to be actually doing some testing out there, which is the final part of the CEQA process that'll allow us to get that RFP done. And I appreciate you bringing those resources to the table to help us advance this project.
If I may, good afternoon. John Gay with the Imperial County Public Works Department. We are helping facilitate the project delivery in partnership with the Salton Sea Authority. At this point in time, our planning department has engaged Geologic. Geologic is a consultant that we utilize on different fronts within our department for different activity. They will be providing us a proposal. We hope to have they're soliciting 3 different drillers. The critical path for this project is actually to identify, number 1, the location of where we would like to have permanent wells to fill our keys. Number 2, the quantity of water and quality, and 3, depth. And so we expect to have these proposals in hopefully within the next 2 weeks. We will pick the appropriate driller, and then we will be moving forward. Site control is an issue. We've been working with Mr. O'Dowd on that. But our goal is to clear CEQA as quickly as we can, as it has already started. And in concert with what Mr. Kelly had mentioned relative to another participant in this process, we'll be meeting with them tomorrow. They're working with us on another park potentially, and so it presents an opportunity from the project delivery standpoint. We are positioning ourselves to do more of a design build. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Questions from directors attending online? I see heads waving no. Any questions from the room? Being none, Mr. O'Dowd?
I would also add that one of the, Mr. Gay mentioned that site access and site control, one of the challenges has been finding parcels that are adequately suited for the well sites. And we have learned recently that there are some particularly well situated lots that are owned by our friends at the Imperial Irrigation District. And once we have those parcels properly identified, we're going to have a visit and talk about how we might work together to help make this project a success. Aloha.
All right, thank you. All right. We'll go on to agenda item number 5E, future dates and locations for Salton Sea Authority meetings.
And I apologize, Mr.
Left from the previous agenda?
No, it's on here, but I don't see the memo in the board packet, and
I
it's-
didn't see it either, so.
And I know I have it. If I could pull it up, that really is a brief conversation, not complicated, and give me 2 seconds and I will talk through it and add it as a supplemental memo to the board packet when we conclude this meeting. But we have a number of board members who have taken on additional public service responsibilities, including LAFCO and CARB, whose meetings conflict with ours. And so we're constantly having a problem. And we've identified that if we move certain of our meeting dates forward 1 week, that we eliminate some of those conflicts. So give me 2 seconds and I'll see. So on the meetings of July 27th, we're proposing to move that to July 20th. The meeting of October 26th, we would move to October 19th. The meeting scheduled for September 21st would be no change. And the only other thing that I would suggest is we have had discussions about the issues at the Coachella Valley Water District and them refurbishing their boardroom next month. And we have reserved the North Shore Beach and Yacht Club for our meeting. So we would propose to have the meeting there, and in conjunction with that, perhaps put together a celebration of our 30th anniversary in conjunction with that. And that is what we are recommending to the board in this item.
Thank you. I think at this point, it's going to be difficult to make a decision on everybody's calendar, so it's something we'll have to chime in for the July and October meetings.
That'll work.
So-
As long as we make a determination as to the location of our next board meeting, we can start planning accordingly.
The North Shore meeting, that would be an early or earlier meeting.
It'd be the
because-
standard 10 a.m.
Be a standard 10 a.m.
We could have coffee and donuts and get there early.
There you go. Yeah, I'm available, and if the site's available, I think we should
It is?
do it.
All right.
That was a proper 30th anniversary celebration.
Okay. We will plan on that.
And you're saying that does not, does not conflict with any of the LAFCO? meetings?
I reached out to the LAFCO members. I don't see it on their calendar.
Oh, good.
There is a CARB meeting at that time, and I know that Supervisor Perez is wrestling with whether he wants to be at our 30th anniversary or at his CARB meeting.
Okay.
And he's receiving enormous pressure to attend both, I'm sure, or at least one of them for sure.
All right. Going on to reports, we'll start with federal reports. Ms. Moore.
Hi there. I think that was my federal report earlier on that was what I was working on for this meeting.
All right, thank you very much. U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, Jeremy Brooks.
Good morning, everyone. I am just going to give a quick update on some of our funding agreements. Unfortunately, Lisa and Patrick have covered the topic of the SEIS. So just in terms of agreements, the big dollar agreements right now are those that are associated with the commitments agreement that was signed in December. There's $22 million that we're working to get out the door. We have scopes of work and budgets and required documentation into our contracting department, and are just kind of working back and forth with both CNRA and the Torres Martinez tribe on their agreements. So we're still on track to have those awarded in September of this year. So that will be, those will be wrapped up relatively quickly. And then once we transition from there, we'll start working together on a plan for the remainder of the $228 million as that comes available. And then, that was kind of IRA special set aside money. And there's our typical standard annual budget through Reclamation Salton Sea program. Just a quick update on those. We have made 1.6 million available to the Hopeville Wetlands project. And that was a project that actually has languished for several years. It's a 30-acre wetland in the city of Hopeville on the Alamo River. We moved some money from a canceled project over to the Hopeville project, and we're able to get that fully funded and moving forward. So I actually was just on the site last week. They are clearing the site and should have that wetlands completed by the end of the calendar year. And then we have provided some more funding to Autobahn to complete phase 1 of their design. And then also we're providing funding this year to start phase 2 of Autobahn's design at Bombay Beach. So the effort here is to keep them moving while they have their contractors on site to keep those jobs going and keep design going while they have momentum. And then just kind of finally, a handful of science initiatives that we're funding related to selenium research and groundwater studies and soils with USGS and NRCS are also being funded this year. They're kind of continuation agreements. So all in all, from our base budget, it's around $2 million. There was an additional $250,000 made available from Washington for capacity, which we moved over to that continuation of Bombay Beach, and used some old money to get the City of Hopeville Wetlands project completed, and then working on these IRA agreements. So that's kind of our update in terms of funding right now. And that is all I have.
Mr. Brooks, do you have any questions? No? Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going on to state reports, Mr. Gonzalez.
Mr. President, I don't think Mr. Gonzalez is with us this afternoon. He is growing his family this week, and I believe that he's tending to his new baby girl.
Oh, congratulations. Beautiful reason to not be present. I wouldn't be present either. Going on to State of California report, Mr. Miguel Hernandez. Good morning, sir.
Great, thank you. Good morning, buenos dias. Miguel Hernandez, Public Affairs Officer with the California Natural Resources Agency with the Salton Sea Management Program. And I have a brief update, brief report on mainly on engagement. First, I'd like to say thank you and great to see all of our partners that came to visit the Valley last week. The State Water Board held its annual Salton Sea Workshop. This year was a 2-day event. Full of a lot of information, a lot of great expertise from our partners. The Salton Sea Management Program got the opportunity to report back on its annual progress based off the annual report that was presented back in March. There's a lot of information on that 2-day workshop, and I just want to mention that the recordings of that meeting are now available at the Water Board's Salton Sea webpage that can be found at waterboards.ca.gov. And we can also hyperlink it into our Salton Sea Management Program websites. You'll find it either or. And also, as part of those 2 days, the Salton Sea Management Program put together a tour of the Species Conservation Habitat Project. Also, would like to extend a thank you to all of the partners that were able to participate and check out the project site, and hopefully that was you found that to be a good and productive opportunity to hear more about this 4,100 acre project at the south of the sea. And of course, ask for your support and getting the word out about the project, what you saw out there, share with stakeholders, with your networks, and also with that reiterate the offer to check out the website, check out our site at a future date. Tour the species conservation habitat, and that offer is open to the board members here, any member of the public, community members, CBOs, NGOs that would like to visit the Species Conservation Habitat Project. Please let us know. We're open to having those guided tours throughout the year. We've been doing it since the project started, and happy to coordinate more of those tours in the future. So if you're interested, please send us an email to cnra-saltonsea@resources.ca.gov. It actually me replying to the email, so happy to coordinate at a future date. Also, another opportunity for engagement with our partners at the Army Corps of Engineers, the Salton Sea Authority, on the Imperial Stream, Salton Sea, and tributaries feasibility study. This study is actually on its initial public scoping period. In fact, it's currently we're on an open public comment period for this initial public scoping. This period started back in May 8th, and it will close on June 7th, which is, I believe, next week, the week after. So please send in your comments to the following email: cespl-imperial-streams-salton-sea@usace.army.mil. For any comments regarding the long-term restoration of the Salton Sea, or you can also send us an email to the CNRA-saltonsea@resources. This is this opportunity, or through the feasibility study, this is the first of many other opportunities that will be available for public to engage in this process. This is for the long-term restoration of the Salton Sea. Again, this initial scoping period is the barely beginning of what's next of the long range plan that we all heard of throughout the last year. So invite everyone to participate and keep the engagement going there. So we can hear everybody's perspective on the long-term restoration of the sea. On a new note, an event that's happening tomorrow regarding the New River Improvement Project in Calexico. Some of you guys have heard of this already. It's been taking some time to get this project starting, but it's a groundbreaking ceremony that's happening tomorrow right up the New River. It's just a public event, a public ceremony that community leaders, state officials are putting together to initiate the process of this project happening in Calexico. And this is a joint effort, led by community members, led by state champions that have allowed this project to come to fruition. And the ceremony will take place tomorrow at 5 p.m. Like I said, right at the New River on 2nd Street next to the outlets. And again, everybody's invited. So that's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll go to the Salton Sea Recreation Area update. Mr. Portori, there you are. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for the opportunity to update the board on the Salton Sea State Recreation Area operations. Exciting to report the visitation remains strong at Salton Sea State Recreation Area. And since the first of the year, we've had over 17,500 visitors come to the state recreation area to visit both for day use and camping use. What's really notable, though, is the increase in camping. Since January the 1st, we've had an additional 847 campers use the area that over prior years. So that's exciting to see the number of campers and the desired use of that facilities in that area for the region. We are currently shifting to our summer operations. We're excited to report that we have adequate staffing this summer at this point to be able to keep our visitor center and our entrance station open 7 days a week. So if anybody has any family or friends that come to visit you this summer, please bring them by the visitor center at the state recreation area, as well as all of our campgrounds will also remain open throughout the summer season. We've already started planning efforts for our 2024 Bird Festival, which is a partnership between Sunny Bono National Wildlife Refuge, the California State Recreation Area, as well as our Sea and Desert Interpretive Association. So we look forward to offering that and providing that program early in 2024. The exact dates are still to be determined. And lastly, I'll share that we've just finished and received our final copy of the Salton Sea State Recreation Area Vision Plan that was created by a partnership between KDI, Alianza, and ourselves. So we're happy and looking forward to implementing some of those ideas and many of those ideas that were developed in that plan and acquiring funding to get those projects completed. That completes the report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that may exist.
Thank you, sir. Mr. White, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I did have a quick question for the Bureau of Reclamation representative. If possible, maybe I was told that there are certain grant applications for new water source generation. Is he aware of the actual grant name? I was told that that happens in the summertime when you actually have to apply for those type of grants. I don't know if he can just mention that offline or put it in the chats or help out with that.
Thank you, Mr. White. We'll go on to local reports, Salton Sea Action Committee, Mr. Pace. Are you with us this morning?
Mr. Pace was not able to report today.
Okay. Going on to last item on the agenda, Executive Director report and comments.
Well, I'll wrap this up here. First, I want to start by thanking Mr. Hernandez for giving half of my report. And but I did on the touching on the feasibility study, but also on the water board hearing. I do want to comment that the water board hearing was well attended, and that the water board was highly complimentary to the work of the SSMP team, acknowledging that they're behind, but the progress that's being made. And I think that the general sentiment from the public was along those same lines, that the work that's being done is making progress. obviously there are concerns about what the future will bring and in the environment that we live in, but it was a good meeting. I also wanted to talk about the only other thing I really wanted to touch on, Mr. President, was my recruitment of a public relations director. We closed the submission process yesterday, and we have a number of highly qualified candidates, and I'm very much looking forward to onboarding that resource to help participate in the important work of informing the community and the public and our stakeholders on everything that's going on, working together with Mr. Hernandez and his team, both on the feasibility study and everything else relating to the Salton Sea. And that concludes my remarks today.
Thank you, Mr. O'Dowd. So if my notes are correct, our next meeting will be on Thursday, June 22nd.
At the North Shore.
At the North Shore.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. This meeting is adjourned.